The maid lent $1 to a stranger. The millionaire found out her boss was selling her data illegally. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to our main character. Emily Turner stood at the bus stop, her fingers tingling from the cold as the drizzle from the March rain soaked through her worn-out coat. She had just come from a job interview that she was certain she hadn't nailed. The room had felt too fancy, too professional for someone like her. She was just a maid, after all. She had done her best, but her nerves had gotten the better of her. With only a few dollars left in her pocket, she couldn't afford to think too much about her failed interview. The truth was, she was barely scraping by, living paycheck to paycheck, and now she was left with nothing but a crumpled bus ticket and a heavy heart. The train station was nearly empty, the usual hustle of commuters drowned out by the soft hum of the train engines and the distant sound of the rain. Emily rubbed her hands together, trying to warm them up, when a voice interrupted her thoughts. "Excuse me," the voice said softly, almost hesitant. She turned to find a man standing a few feet away from her. He was drenched, his coat soaked through and clinging to his frame. His face was partially obscured by his unkempt hair, but his eyes, those eyes were deep and sincere, despite the weariness they held. "I'm sorry," he continued, his voice raspy. "I had my wallet stolen. I just need $10 for a ticket home. I swear I'll pay you back if you can trust me. Please." Emily blinked, surprised by the request. She didn't have much to offer, but something about the man's demeanor tugged at her heart. She looked down at her pocket, feeling the last $10 bill she had left. It was the only money she had for food, for survival. She could walk away. She should walk away. But there was something in his eyes that made her pause. She didn't know why, but she felt like this was her moment to do something good. Without a word, she reached into her pocket and pulled out the bill. "Here," she said quietly, handing him the $10. "I hope you get home safe." The man's eyes widened, and for a moment, he just stared at the money in disbelief. Then, with a shaky breath, he took the bill from her. "Thank you," he whispered. "You don't know how much this means. I promise I'll pay you back." He fumbled around in his pocket and handed her a business card. "If you ever need anything, here's my contact." Emily didn't think much of it as she accepted the card, but something in her gut told her that this man was more than he appeared. She gave him a small nod, watching as he walked away into the rain. The sound of the train grew louder, and she climbed aboard, her mind still racing from the encounter. Little did Emily know, this act of kindness would set off a chain of events that would change her life forever. The next few days were a blur for Emily. She went back to her usual routine, cleaning rooms in a large mansion on the outskirts of the city. She had hardly given the man at the bus stop a second thought. After all, it wasn't like it was the first time she had helped a stranger. But there was something about him. His face lingered in her mind. She kept turning the business card he had given her over and over in her hand, wondering who he really was. It wasn't just the kindness that stuck with her. It was his eyes, the vulnerability hidden behind his worn-out appearance. She had seen it before in the faces of people who had everything but felt like they had nothing left to lose. The next week, Emily's life took an unexpected turn. It was a Wednesday afternoon when she walked into the mansion's kitchen to find a message waiting for her. Her boss, Mr. Carter, the owner of the estate, had been acting unusually distant lately. She had overheard rumors among the staff about some shady dealings happening behind closed doors, but it wasn't until that day that she started to see the cracks in the facade. The message was brief but unsettling. "I need to speak with you in my office now." Emily's heart skipped a beat. She had never been summoned by Mr. Carter directly. She had always been just another maid, cleaning up after the wealthy elite without ever being seen. She wondered if she had done something wrong. With a deep breath, she made her way up to his office. The mansion was eerily quiet as she walked down the long hallway. She knocked on the door and entered when she heard his voice telling her to come in. Mr. Carter was sitting behind his large, mahogany desk, his face impassive as usual. "Have a seat, Emily," he said, motioning to the chair in front of him. She did as he asked, her palms sweating. "I'm sure you've noticed some strange things happening around here lately," he began. Things that don't add up. Emily nodded, unsure where this conversation was going. I'm going to be blunt, Emily, Mr. Carter continued, his voice taking on a more serious tone. There's been some illegal activity going on, right under my nose. And I need your help to fix it. He slid a folder across the desk towards her. Emily opened it cautiously, her eyes widening as she saw the documents inside. They were records, full of personal data, names, addresses, financial information. These files, Mr. Carter said, his voice tight with anger, belong to the staff here. And I just found out that my business partner has been selling them. All this time, we've been dealing with stolen data, and I need you to help me expose this. Emily sat back in her chair, stunned. This wasn't what she had expected. She had thought she would be reprimanded for something minor. But instead, she was being dragged into a high-stakes situation involving her very own livelihood. Her mind raced. She had always known that something wasn't right at the mansion, but she hadn't expected it to be something this serious. But, why me? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Because, Mr. Carter replied, I've been watching you. I've seen how hard you work, how dedicated you are. You've shown kindness when no one else would. And I believe you're the right person to help me fix this. Emily couldn't believe what she was hearing. She had always been invisible, just another person in the background. But now, here she was, sitting in front of the very man who had built this empire, and he was asking for her help. For the first time in her life, she felt like she was more than just a maid. She was part of something bigger. I don't know if I can do this, she said, feeling the weight of the situation settle on her shoulders. I've never been in a position like this before. Mr. Carter looked at her with a steady gaze. You don't have to do it alone. I'll help you every step of the way, but I need you to trust me. Emily took a deep breath. She was terrified, but at the same time, she felt a spark of something new, a chance to make a difference, to be more than just someone who cleaned up after others. All right, she said, her voice steady. I'll help you. She didn't know it yet, but this was the beginning of a journey that would change her life forever. The days that followed felt like a blur for Emily as she navigated the strange new world that had opened up before her. The weight of the situation, the files, the illegal data sales, it all seemed so far removed from her simple life as a maid, yet it had now become her reality. She spent hours going through the documents Mr. Carter had given her, her hands trembling as she studied the confidential information. She could hardly believe what she was seeing. Names, addresses, private details about the mansion staff were being sold to unknown buyers. It was a deep betrayal, one that reached far beyond anything she could have imagined. As she sat in her small apartment that night, the reality of the task ahead of her weighed heavily on her shoulders. She had always known her boss, Mr. Carter, was wealthy, but she had never expected to find herself entangled in such high-stakes corporate espionage. Yet here she was, holding the key to unraveling a criminal operation. Emily couldn't help but feel a sense of urgency. She knew this wasn't just about her or Mr. Carter. It was about the lives of everyone working at the mansion, their privacy violated in ways they hadn't even realized. The next day, she met Mr. Carter again in his office. This time, there was a sense of determination in his eyes. We need to act quickly, he said, his voice steady. I've already spoken with my legal team. They're ready to help, but we need someone on the inside. Someone who can gather the information we need without raising suspicion. Emily felt a surge of nervousness. And you want me to do this? She asked, her voice small. Mr. Carter looked at her with a mixture of respect and trust. You're the only one I trust for this, Emily. You've proven yourself to me. Now, I need you to do the hardest part, getting the evidence and taking it to the right people. Emily felt her stomach flip. She had never imagined herself in a position like this, but now, she realized that she had no choice. She was in too deep to back out now. I'll do it, she said, her voice shaking slightly but resolute. Over the next few weeks, Emily's life changed dramatically. She was given more responsibility around the mansion, which made it easier for her to gather the necessary information. Every day, she discreetly copied files, gathered evidence, and built a case against her boss's corrupt dealings. All the while, she continued to maintain the facade of a simple maid, never letting anyone suspect what she was doing. There were moments when the weight of the secret felt unbearable. Late at night, when the mansion was quiet and the staff was asleep, Emily would sit alone in her room, her heart racing as she thought about what would happen if she were caught. She knew the risks. Exposing Mr. Carter's partner could destroy everything she had worked for. But she also knew that she couldn't turn back now. She had made a promise to herself and to the people who had trusted her. Finally, the day arrived when Emily had everything she needed. She carefully transferred the stolen data onto a secure device and made arrangements to meet with Mr. Carter. As she handed him the files, their eyes met, and for the first time, Emily saw a different side of him, a side that wasn't just a powerful businessman, but a man who truly cared about what was right. "You did it," he said, his voice soft but filled with gratitude. Emily nodded, feeling a sense of pride that she hadn't felt in years. She had done something that mattered. She had made a difference. And as Mr. Carter promised to take down the corrupt business partner, Emily knew that her life was about to change in ways she could never have imagined. The weeks that followed felt like a whirlwind to Emily. What started as a simple act of kindness had spiraled into something far bigger than she had ever imagined. She had exposed the illegal activity happening within the mansion and helped Mr. Carter bring down a corrupt partner. But even with the relief of knowing the truth was out, Emily couldn't help but feel the weight of everything she had been through. It was difficult to shake the sense of unease that lingered over her. She had always been just a maid, never considered important enough to be part of the high-stakes world that Mr. Carter and his colleagues inhabited. And now, she was standing in the middle of it. The mansion felt different now. The grand rooms that once felt like a distant dream now seemed to mock her. She had never been one to bask in luxury, but there was something about having the power to change things that left her conflicted. As the days passed, Emily found herself reflecting on everything that had happened. She had grown close to Mr. Carter throughout the investigation, but their relationship was always professional. He was a businessman, and she was a maid. Nothing more. Yet, there was a bond that had formed between them, one born from mutual respect and the shared goal of doing what was right. It wasn't long before Mr. Carter asked Emily to meet him again, this time in a more personal setting. She had never been invited to one of his events before, but this time it was different. He had invited her to a charity gala, an event that would be attended by the city's most powerful figures. Emily felt nervous as she stood in front of her mirror, trying to decide what to wear. She didn't have the extravagant wardrobe of the guests she would be mingling with that night. She had always kept to simple, practical clothes, dresses from thrift stores, shoes that had seen better days. But Mr. Carter had insisted, offering her a dress from his personal stylist. It was a beautiful dress, simple yet elegant, with a touch of luxury that made her feel out of place. But she accepted the offer. She couldn't deny that a part of her wanted to experience the world she had only ever dreamed about. The gala was being held in a grand ballroom, with chandeliers casting a warm glow over the guests. There was an air of sophistication in the room, the kind that made Emily feel small in comparison. But as she entered, she was greeted with kindness. Mr. Carter was waiting for her at the door, a welcoming smile on his face. "You look beautiful, Emily," he said, his voice soft yet sincere. Emily felt her cheeks flush at the compliment. "Thank you," she replied, her voice shaky. It wasn't just the dress that made her feel out of place. It was the entire atmosphere of the event. People were speaking in hushed tones, their laughter soft and controlled. They all seemed to know their place in the world. And Emily? She had never felt more like an outsider. But Mr. Carter seemed to notice her discomfort. He led her around the room, introducing her to some of the guests, all while making her feel at ease. They spoke about work, the charity, and even shared a few laughs. For the first time in a long while, Emily began to relax. She wasn't just a maid in his eyes. She was a person, someone worth talking to. As the evening went on, Mr. Carter took Emily aside. "I want to thank you for everything you've done," he said, his voice low. "You've helped me more than you know." Emily looked at him, confusion flickering in her eyes. "I was just doing the right thing." He smiled, his eyes softening. "And that's why I want to offer you something more. You've proven yourself to be someone I can trust, someone who's capable of much more than you realize. I want to give you a position within the company, something that reflects your worth." Emily's heart skipped a beat. She had never imagined such an opportunity, not for someone like her. "You don't have to do this," she said, feeling overwhelmed. Mr. Carter shook his head. "I know you've always worked hard, but now it's time for you to have a chance to build something for yourself. You deserve more than just cleaning up after others. I want you to be part of something bigger." Emily couldn't believe what she was hearing. It was an offer that would change her life, an opportunity to step into a world she had never dreamed possible. She looked at him, unsure of what to say. But in that moment, she realized something. She had come this far not because of her title or her position, but because of her actions. And with that realization, she made a choice. One that would take her into a future filled with endless possibilities. The days following the gala were a blur for Emily. She had accepted Mr. Carter's offer, but the gravity of it all hadn't fully sunk in until she sat at her new desk in the company's office. The office was starkly different from the mansion where she had worked before. Here, the space was filled with the quiet hum of computers and the sound of heels clicking on the polished floors. Emily's heart raced. She wasn't just a maid anymore. She had a real position in the company now. She looked around, feeling a mixture of excitement and fear. This was a world she had never belonged to, but now, she was a part of it. She had always kept to the shadows, but now, the spotlight was on her. She was responsible for something bigger than herself. Her role was clear. She was to assist with the company's outreach programs, ensuring that the data collection from clients was handled ethically and responsibly. And she was tasked with building relationships with the community, something she had never imagined doing in her wildest dreams. The first few days were overwhelming. Emily spent hours in meetings, learning the ropes, and getting to know her new colleagues. The pressure was immense, but she was determined to prove herself. She wasn't the scared girl from the mansion anymore. She was a woman with a purpose. One day, as Emily sat at her desk, reviewing documents for an upcoming charity event, she noticed Mr. Carter walking down the hall. He paused when he saw her. "How's everything going?" he asked, a slight smile on his face. Emily looked up from her work, surprised by his question. "It's a lot to take in," she admitted, her voice soft. "But I'm getting there." Mr. Carter nodded, his expression thoughtful. "You've done well, Emily. I knew you had it in you." His words felt like a weight lifted off her shoulders. She wasn't just being handed tasks, he truly believed in her. It was something she had never felt before. "Thank you," she said, a small smile tugging at the corners of her lips. "I'm just trying to do my best." That night, Emily went home, her mind racing. She hadn't been prepared for how much work was involved, but as the days passed, she began to settle into her role. The fear and uncertainty that had once paralyzed her slowly faded, replaced by a quiet confidence. She was learning, growing, and discovering things about herself she had never known. She could do this. A few weeks later, the company held a meeting for all its employees to discuss the progress of the charity event. As she sat in the room, listening to the discussions, Emily felt a sense of pride. She had come so far, from the girl who cleaned rooms in the mansion to the woman standing in the midst of a group of executives, contributing her ideas. It wasn't easy, but it felt right. At the end of the meeting, Mr. Carter turned to her. "You're doing great," he said, his voice sincere. "I'm glad I gave you this opportunity." Emily smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her. She wasn't just another employee anymore. She was valued, trusted, and most importantly, she had found her place in the world. As the weeks went on, Emily's life continued to transform. She wasn't just working for Mr. Carter anymore. She was helping to shape the future of the company and its charitable efforts. The respect she had earned from her colleagues was genuine, and her confidence grew with each passing day. But there was more to it than just the work. Emily had found something she hadn't realized she was missing all these years, a sense of belonging. She was no longer invisible. She was a part of something bigger, something meaningful. And as she looked ahead, she knew this was only the beginning. The journey she had started with a simple act of kindness had brought her to a place she never thought possible. And with Mr. Carter's continued support, Emily knew that anything was within her reach. Emily's life had slowly begun to shift into something she never imagined possible. The fear and uncertainty that had plagued her at the beginning of her new role in Mr. Carter's company were now distant memories. She was settling in, becoming more confident and capable with every passing day. Her colleagues respected her, and for the first time in her life, she felt like she was truly seen, not just for her past or her job, but for who she had become. It wasn't easy. The work was demanding, and there were moments of doubt. Emily often found herself questioning whether she was truly cut out for the high-stakes world she now inhabited. But when those moments came, she remembered how far she had come. She remembered the girl who had once cleaned rooms, the girl who had felt invisible in the grand mansion, and how a simple act of kindness had led her to this point. It was on one of those long days at the office, as she was leaving for the night, that Mr. Carter called her into his office. "Emily, come in for a moment," he said. His voice was calm, but there was something in it that made her pause. She walked into his office, the soft click of the door closing behind her. Mr. Carter stood by the window, looking out at the city skyline. "I have something important to discuss with you," he began, his tone serious but warm. Emily felt a flutter of anxiety in her chest. "Is everything all right?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Mr. Carter turned to face her, a slight smile on his lips. "Everything is fine," he reassured her. "But I've been thinking. You've done more than just prove yourself here. I've seen the way you work, the way you care, and the impact you've already made. And I think it's time you take the next step." Emily's heart raced. "Next step?" she echoed, not sure what he meant. "I want to offer you a leadership position within the company," Mr. Carter said. "I know you have the potential to do great things here, and I want to give you the chance to grow even further." Emily stared at him, stunned. A leadership position? Her? It seemed too surreal. "I don't know what to say," she replied, her voice shaky. "You don't have to say anything right now," he said with a reassuring smile. "But I want you to consider it. I believe in you, Emily, and I think you can take this company in the direction it needs to go." Emily was silent for a moment, processing his words. It felt like a dream, like everything she had worked for, everything she had sacrificed, was finally paying off. She had never thought she would be offered such an opportunity, not in a million years. "I don't know if I'm ready," she admitted, her voice small but honest. Mr. Carter stepped closer, his expression softening. "You are more ready than you think. You've already proven yourself time and time again. You have the heart and the drive, Emily. Don't let self-doubt hold you back." His words resonated with her, and for the first time in a long while, she felt a spark of belief within herself. She had come this far, and she realized that perhaps, just perhaps, she was capable of more than she had ever imagined. "I'll do it," she said, her voice steady now. "I'll take the position." Mr. Carter smiled, a proud look in his eyes. "I knew you would." As Emily left his office that night, a sense of purpose filled her. She wasn't just a maid anymore. She wasn't just a girl with big dreams. She was a woman with a future, and that future was hers to shape. The world she had once only observed from the outside was now within her reach. She had worked hard to get here, and now, she was ready to take the next step. She wasn't sure what the future would hold, but for the first time in her life, she felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. And she knew, no matter what came next, she was ready to face it head on. Cut out for this position? One evening, as she was working late in her office, she heard a knock on the door. Looking up, she saw Mr. Carter standing in the doorway, his expression unreadable. "Emily," he said, his voice warm but firm. "Can we talk?" Her heart skipped a beat. "Of course," she replied, standing up quickly. Mr. Carter stepped into the office, closing the door behind him. He took a moment, looking around the space as if seeing it for the first time. "You've come a long way," he said, his gaze softening as he met her eyes. "I've been watching you, and I have to say, I'm impressed." Emily felt a weight lift off her chest. "Thank you," she said, unable to hide the relief in her voice. "I'm just doing my best." Mr. Carter nodded. "I know you are, and that's why I'm here." Emily's pulse quickened. "What do you mean?" "I'm offering you something more," Mr. Carter continued. "A bigger role in the company. I've been working on expanding our charity efforts, and I want you to lead them." The offer stunned Emily. Lead the charity efforts? It was the kind of opportunity she had never dared to dream of. "You want me to lead?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yes," he said, his voice confident. "You've shown that you can handle the responsibilities, and I believe you can make a real difference. I want you to be the face of our charitable initiatives. You'll be in charge of organizing events, managing our partnerships, and driving our community outreach programs." Emily couldn't believe it. She had come from nothing, just a girl trying to survive, and now, here she was, being offered a chance to lead a major initiative for one of the most successful companies in the city. "I'm honored," she said, her voice shaky but filled with excitement. "I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything right now," Mr. Carter said. "Take some time to think about it. But I want you to know that I believe in you." Over the next few days, Emily couldn't stop thinking about the opportunity. It felt surreal, like something out of a movie. She had gone from cleaning rooms in a mansion to leading the company's charity efforts. It was the kind of story that didn't happen to people like her. But, then again, maybe that was the point. She wasn't just any maid anymore. She was Emily Turner, a woman who had worked hard to build a future for herself. And now, she had the chance to build something bigger, something that would impact the lives of others. She had always dreamed of making a difference, of using her own struggles to help others who were facing their own battles. This was her chance. She walked into Mr. Carter's office the following week, ready to accept the challenge. "I'll do it," she said, her voice steady with newfound confidence. Mr. Carter smiled, his eyes filled with pride. "I knew you would." Emily felt a rush of emotions as she left the office. It wasn't just about the position. It was about the journey that had brought her here. She had faced so many obstacles, so many moments where she had doubted herself. But now, she was standing at the beginning of a new chapter, one that would change not only her life, but the lives of others as well. Emily had been in her new position for a few months now, and every day brought new challenges, but also new victories. Leading the company's charity initiatives was nothing short of transformative for her. She had gone from a maid cleaning rooms to the head of an organization dedicated to making a difference in the lives of others. The pressure was immense, but with each event she helped organize, Emily felt more confident in her abilities. She worked tirelessly, meeting with potential partners, overseeing charity events, and building relationships with other organizations. Her efforts were starting to show tangible results. But despite the success, she often found herself thinking about Mr. Carter. He had believed in her from the start, even when she hadn't believed in herself. She admired his determination, his ability to keep pushing forward, even when the odds were stacked against him. Emily often caught herself wondering what it would be like him, to be so self-assured and confident in her place in the world. But she realized that she was already becoming the person she had always wanted to be. Slowly, she had started to see her own worth. It wasn't just about the role she held at the company. It was about the impact she was making. She was giving people a chance, changing lives, and building a future that mattered. It was at one of the charity events, a gala hosted by the company, that Emily found herself face to face with a man she had not seen in months, David Parker, the man she had helped with $1 when he was a stranger at the bus stop. He had been instrumental in getting her into the company, but since then, they had only exchanged a few brief words in passing. That night, as she walked across the ballroom, her eyes met his. For a moment, everything around them seemed to disappear. He smiled warmly as he approached, and Emily's heart skipped a beat. "Emily," he said, his voice low and comforting. "You look incredible. You've come so far." Emily smiled back, feeling a rush of gratitude. "Thank you, David. It's still hard to believe all of this. I never imagined I'd be here, doing what I'm doing." He nodded, his expression thoughtful. "I've always believed in you," he said softly. "From the moment we met, I knew you were capable of much more than you gave yourself credit for." Emily felt a warmth spread through her chest at his words. "I don't think I'd be here if it weren't for you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. David looked at her for a long moment, his gaze unwavering. "You don't owe me anything, Emily. You've earned everything you have. But if you ever need anything, don't hesitate to ask." His sincerity took her by surprise. She had always thought of him as just a businessman, someone who had opened a door for her. But now, in this moment, she saw a different side of him. Someone who cared, someone who wanted to see her succeed. "Thank you," she said, her voice thick with emotion. They stood there for a while, talking about everything and nothing. As the night went on, Emily felt more at ease. The gala, which had once felt so out of place to her, was now a familiar part of her new life. As the evening came to a close, Mr. Carter approached them. "David, Emily," he said with a smile. "I'm glad you two could catch up." Emily felt a wave of appreciation for both men in her life. They had pushed her to be better, to believe in herself when she couldn't. "It's good to see you, Mr. Carter," Emily said, smiling. "Everything's going great with the charity. We've raised more funds than we expected." Mr. Carter's eyes lit up with pride. "That's fantastic," he said. "You're making a real difference, Emily. I'm proud of you." As the night ended and Emily made her way home, she couldn't help but reflect on how far she had come. She had started out as a maid, unsure of her future, and now she was leading efforts that were changing lives. She had found her place in a world she once thought was beyond her reach. And she knew that with every step she took, she was building something bigger, something meaningful, a future that was hers to shape. Emily stood at the window of her office, gazing out at the city below. The lights flickered in the distance, and the steady hum of traffic seemed to match the rhythm of her thoughts. It had been a year since she had taken the position at Mr. Carter's company, and in that time, everything had changed. She had gone from a maid with little hope to a woman with purpose, leading a charity initiative that was making a real difference. But now, as she reflected on her journey, she realized there was something more she needed to do. Her life had come full circle. She had the career, the recognition, and the respect she had always longed for. But she couldn't shake the feeling that there was still something missing. A connection, perhaps, a sense of belonging that went beyond the work she had poured herself into. She had grown close to Mr. Carter, and over the months, their professional relationship had deepened into something more personal. She admired his drive, his determination to do what was right, even when it was hard. He had given her the opportunity of a lifetime, and through his guidance, Emily had become someone she could be proud of. Yet, despite their bond, Emily had always kept a part of herself guarded. She had spent so much of her life feeling like an outsider, that the thought of letting someone in fully seemed like an impossible task. As she stood there, lost in thought, there was a knock at the door. She turned to see Mr. Carter entering the room, a small smile playing on his lips. "You've been quiet today," he said, stepping closer. "I've been thinking," Emily replied, turning to face him. "About everything. About how far I've come, and about what I still want." He raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What do you mean?" Emily paused, gathering her thoughts. "I've built something I'm proud of here. But I think it's time to take the next step, to build something for myself. Something personal, not just professional." Mr. Carter studied her for a moment, then nodded. "I understand. It's easy to get lost in the work, to forget about the things that truly matter." Emily looked at him, her eyes searching for answers. "But what if I'm afraid? What if I'm afraid of what might happen if I open up, if I let someone in?" Mr. Carter stepped closer, his gaze softening. "I don't have all the answers, Emily. But I do know this. You've earned the right to be happy. And sometimes, that means taking a risk. Trusting that the people who care about you will be there to support you." Emily felt a lump form in her throat as his words sank in. She had spent so many years closing herself off, convinced that she couldn't have both a career and a personal life, that she couldn't have it all. But now, standing here, she realized that she had the power to create the life she wanted. "You're right," she said, her voice steady. "I've been afraid, but I'm ready now. Ready to build the life I've always wanted, to embrace the possibilities." Mr. Carter smiled, a proud expression crossing his face. "I knew you had it in you, Emily. You've always been capable of more than you realized." And as she looked at him, standing there with a sense of unwavering support, Emily knew that the future was hers to shape. She had come so far, and now, for the first time, she felt ready to take on whatever came next. She was no longer the girl who had started out as a maid, unsure of her place in the world. She was a woman who had proven her worth, and who knew that, no matter what, she could handle anything that came her way. As the city lights twinkled outside her window, Emily felt a sense of peace wash over her. She had built her life from the ground up, and now it was time to live it, fully and completely. No more hiding, no more holding back. It was time for Emily to embrace her future, with all its challenges and triumphs, and to trust that, in the end, everything would fall into place.